Hi, my name is Robert Larson. I'm an attorney and I'm also the owner of the Larson Law Office in Mesa, Arizona. I focus primarily on family law, like divorce and custody cases, as well as estate planning, like wills and trusts and things like that. And I wanted to follow up to a video that I made earlier this week about the differences between child support arrears and past child support that's owed. And so they are similar in some ways. Both of them involve owing money for child support for the past, but there are some important differences. And today I wanted to focus more on how you can avoid paying past child support. So how can you avoid owing past child support in the first place? And so, first of all, just a quick reminder, child support arrears are what you owe when you have a child support order where you're supposed to pay a certain amount per month for child support, and then you fail to pay it for whatever reason. That is child support arrears, and you owe whatever you fail to pay will accrue interest at a rate of 10% until it's paid off. Past support is more like at some point a judge determines that you owe child support for previous months, but there was no court order in place at the time. So a typical example that I'll use throughout this video would be let's say a couple are together, whether they're married or not really doesn't matter for the purposes of this example. But let's say they're together and they have children together and they're living in the same home, and then they separate. So one of them moves out of the home, and then a few months later, one of them, whether it's the mother or father, goes to court and opens up a new case. Whether if they're if they're married, it would be a divorce case. If they're not married, it would be a paternity case. But either way, both of them are going to involve child support. So let's say, like I said, they separate. They're no longer living in the same place. 3 months later, someone goes to court and opens up a new case. And then let's say 9 months down the road, after various court hearings and various things that have been filed in court, mediation, etc., at some point they come to a final order in their case, whether it's by agreement or whether it's by a trial and a judge making a decision on things. Doesn't really matter. Let's say 9 months later, they get a final order and it says that the father owes $1,000 per month for child support. Um, so if you count up the months, it's 3 months from the time that they split up until the case was filed, and then another 9 months after that before the child support gets entered. That means the father should have been paying $1,000 a month for the previous 12 months because child support basically starts when you're no longer living together. There's no child support owed when you're living in the same home, but as soon as you separate and live separately, then child support can accrue at that point. So this final order could look like this. It could say, okay, father is ordered to pay child support in the amount of $1,000 per month, starting with the following month. And then for the past 12 months, he also owed $1,000 per month. So it would say that mother is awarded a judgment against father for past support in the amount of $12,000. Now, a big difference between past support and arrears is that past support doesn't accrue interest because you weren't violating any court order when you failed to pay that. You just didn't pay it, even though it was eventually found that or determined that you should have. Anyway, the bottom line is there's a judgment against the father in the amount of $12,000. And typically the judge will order father to make a payment on that so that he can start reducing that judgment. So typically it'll say he needs to pay $1,000 a month for the current child support, plus let's say 200, 250, 300, whatever, some other amount to pay down that judgment. So I think a typical amount would be about $250 a month. So basically the father's going to have to pay $1,000 a month plus an extra $250 to pay down that judgment. Now, the way you avoid having to pay past support is that you just simply pay support during the time that you're separated but don't have a court order yet. So if the father had been paying $1,000 a month to the mother during those 12 months, he wouldn't have started out with any kind of judgment or past support. He would have just started out with a blank slate. Now, if he had paid $500 a month, he would have been given credit for that as well. So he would basically have a judgment against him for $6,000 instead of 12. If he had overpaid, so if he had been paying more than $1,000 a month, then I guess he would be a little bit ahead. But either way, all you have to do is make payments beforehand. Now, that can sometimes be a little bit more difficult than it sounds because you don't really know how much you're supposed to pay. However, if the children are with the other parent the majority of the time, or if you have a significantly higher income, or both, or it could be a number of factors that are involved. If it seems likely that you're going to owe child support, you might as well start paying some. Even if it's not the exact amount, you will be given credit for it when you finally get your orders. And that way you don't start off in the hole so much. And I've seen people start off in the hole $20,000, $30,000, and it's a really big hole to try to climb out of. And the reason it can be that large is, first of all, a child support order could be a pretty significant number, especially if you have young children who are in childcare and things like that. That can make child support extremely expensive. But also, child support can actually go retroactive up to 3 years. So, in my example, it was only 3 months from the time that they separated until someone filed the case. But let's say two people separated and nobody filed the case for 3 years. Um, the court could go back the full length of time, all the way back to 3 years from the time that you separated. Now, if you separated 4 or 5 years previously and then someone filed a case, they would still only be able to go back 3 years. But still, if you think about it, 36 months at whatever the monthly amount is for child support, that can be pretty significant to start off with being in the hole. So sometimes people are in the hole so much that they never even get it paid off until their kids turn 18 and they stop having to pay the current child support. And then they continue making payments, even though their kids are adults now, but they continue making payments, trying to pay down that past support from many years previous. So anyway, another thing that comes up a lot of times, sometimes people are aware about the child support clearinghouse. So the support clearinghouse is an office that the state operates where it has one function. They collect payments from people who owe child support or spousal maintenance, and they process those and then send the payments to the person who receives those. And they also keep a record of that so that you get credit for your payments. And because it becomes a huge mess if people don't pay through the clearinghouse, most child support orders will order you and command you to pay through the clearinghouse. And there are various ways you can make those payments. You can pay online. You can pay in person. You can go down to the courthouse if you have cash and you can pay there. You can mail a check. But the most common way is that people have it taken directly out of their paycheck. So once there's a child support order in effect, the court will send out a notice to your employer, or you can give the notice to your employer as well, and they'll just take the money out of your paycheck and send it to the clearinghouse directly. So that way you never see it, you never touch it, you never really have to deal with it, and that's a really good way to do it. And so a lot of times people know that their payments are supposed to go through the clearinghouse. So early on, they don't know what to do because the fact is you can't make a payment to the clearinghouse until there's a child support order. So once you have a child support order, it will command you to make your payments through the clearinghouse. And if you don't, it could very well be considered a gift by the court because, like I said earlier, if people don't go through the clearinghouse, it can become a huge mess. People come into court with years of receipts and testimony that they paid cash to the others, their ex, over the years. And if the court doesn't have any record of it, or if it's just too confusing to figure out, they'll basically just say it was a gift, and they'll say you should have gone through the clearinghouse. So you really want to go through the clearinghouse. But like I said, there's a dilemma because when you don't have a child support order yet, you actually can't pay through the clearinghouse because you can't do that until there is a court order. Otherwise, if you send a payment to the clearinghouse and there's no court order, they'd be like, what is this? What are we supposed to do with this money? Who are you and why are you paying it to us? Who's it supposed to go to? We don't know. I don't know if they would send it back to you or if they just hold on to it until they get further information. But the bottom line is you can't make a payment through the clearinghouse to your ex until there's a child support order. So what do? Well, you just make a payment in a way that you can trace it. So it could be a bank transfer, it could be Zelle, it could be a check if you want to be old-fashioned. Just whatever you do, you don't want it to be cash. You want it to be something where you will be able to have a record in the future so that you can get credit for it. And the judge will give you credit for it. Whether the other person wants to or not, if you can show that you've been making payments, the judge is going to give you credit for those payments. So you don't want to give cash. And also, I would highly recommend you put down child support, or for child support, something indicating that it's for child support, so that there's no confusion about whether it was for a medical bill or to pay a phone bill, um, or reimbursing for something, or whatever. You want to make clear that it was for child support, and so that way you'll get credit for those payments. Um, if you do that, like I said, your calculation may not be perfect, but even if you make some payments and you end up owing a little bit more, it's a lot easier than if you don't pay anything. And it also tends to make the other party a little happier if they're getting some financial support, and um, that can help things settle, can help emotions calm down. And so it's just a good idea in general. If you can already tell that you're going to be owing child support, you might as well just start paying it. That way you get credit for it. That way your children are being taken care of. That way people are more likely to be willing to settle on things, and not be fighting so much. And then also, you're not going to start out with a huge judgment that's going to affect you for many years down the road. So anyway, that's kind of a short, but also kind of a long explanation of how you can avoid owing past support. And it can be important. Like I said, I've seen some people start out right off the bat owing tens of thousands of dollars, and it's something that's going to affect the rest of their lives, or at least many years of their lives. So anyway, if you found this video helpful, please like and feel free to comment, and subscribe so that you can get more in the future. And again, as I always say, this video is meant for educational purposes. It's not creating any kind of legal advice. If you want actual legal advice, you need to either call me and make an appointment, or talk to another attorney and actually consult with them about your specific situation. But hopefully you found this educational, and if so, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to make more in the future.